you're watching this video during the week it came out, you're probably aware that this week is Valentine's Day week. People have been giving each other chocolates, Valentine's cards, and generally taking time to be with their loved ones. But if you live outside the US, you may or may not be aware of another holiday that's taking place very soon, and that holiday is President's Day. It's a day for the celebration of American presidents, and we usually get 1 or 2 days off as a much needed break from the long stretch of school and work weeks between Christmas and Easter. There's never really any celebration that goes on that day though. You might see a few people wandering around wearing red, white, and blue, and maybe having a nice family dinner, but that's about it. But from 2013 to 2019, that was very much not the case on Roblox. In fact, President's Day used to be one of the most anticipated holidays for Robloxians, and that was because of one thing: the annual President's Day sale. Roblox has always been a sucker for holiday celebrations, particularly American ones, and in 2013, they decided to celebrate President's Day by having a huge week-long blowout sale. They discounted some items' prices by as much as 50%, put some coveted off-sale items back on sale for a limited time, cranked out a ton of new limiteds and non-limiteds, and even caused some regular items that already existed on the catalog to go limited. Despite the name, this sale was by no means restricted to just America-themed items. In fact, those items were actually in the minority. Anything could happen in this sale, and people loved it. So with the public's support, the President's Day sale became a yearly tradition, and it was actually one of the last official yearly traditions to stick it out after Roblox sacrificed all of their event slots to corporations. The annual President's Day sale ran strong for a good 7 years, and it only stopped because sales stopped. The most popular theory as to why that happened is because Roblox wanted to put more of a spotlight on UGC creators. And ever since, UGC creators have been conducting their own sales, but because they don't have permission to re-upload popular items or make limiteds, they just haven't really been the same. So since it's the 3-year anniversary and all, I thought this would be a good week to take a look back at and rank all of Roblox's President's Day sales. I'll be ranking them from lowest to highest, discussing my favorite and least favorite parts of each sale, and possibly even revealing some items that you had no idea were President's Day items. So, without further ado, let's get started. The worst President's Day sale ever has to be the one that happened in 2014. It had the second lowest number of affected items out of all the sales on this list, and the items that were affected were the least cared about ones. However, that doesn't mean that there weren't still a few gems in there. The Dark Reaper was an item that was temporarily on sale in 2009 to celebrate Halloween, and since then it's gained a pretty strong cult following. It was brought back on sale during this sale for 1,000 Robux, which is a little steep considering that during the last sale it was released in, the 2019 Labor Day sale, it was only 200 Robux, but it's still a cool item nonetheless. The glowing red eyes and mouth look great, and the hood's texture and shape are super detailed. I normally hate items that cover your entire head, but considering its history and looks, I think this one is pretty sweet. Another cool item that was brought back on sale was an item that was created in 2013 called the Blue Steel Antlers. They're a retexture of the original classic Antlers mesh, which is a pretty big staple of classic avatars. They're also Blue Steel, which is a pretty beloved texture series, and they were on sale for 20k Robux, which makes them very rare. Only 459 copies exist. But if you couldn't afford 20k, there was a cheaper texture you could get, the Bombastic Antlers, for 7.5k. Now, I personally don't like the Bombastic texture as much as Blue Steel, but it's still a classic Antlers retexture, so these are going to be a flex no matter what texture they have. But those 3 items pale in comparison to the absolute undisputed king of this sale, which is the Earl of the Federation. Federation items are great, and a big sign of wealth in general, up there with Dominuses. But it wasn't until I stopped to really look at images of this item for this video that I realized I think this might be the best one. Now this is just my thoughts, you can like whatever colors you want, but in my opinion, the green paired with the silver on this hat is cool as absolute heck. I'm kind of a sci-fi nerd, so these circular gems on the silver remind me of UFOs, and this thing really just screams alien overlord, much better than even the original Lord of the Federation. Again, it's just my opinion, but if nothing else, I think we can all agree that it's at least much better looking than certain other Federation items. Now, what did this sale do so wrong to get literal last place in this lineup? Well, nothing really. It's just that it doesn't really stack up. I don't want to spoil the rest of this video for you guys, but for now, let's just say that this sale only affected like 3 top tier items at the most, and all the others just did a lot more. Arbitrator, a well-known Roblox fan blogger, agrees with me. This sale really was the worst one, simply because even though it had the right amount of items, the bad items outnumbered the good ones. Sophisticated Ostrich, Bionic Beatbot, and Lovestruck Robot all cover your entire head, and unlike the Dark Reaper, they look pretty ugly. I wouldn't be surprised if someone told me these items were originally meant to be free event items. The discounts weren't all that great either. There were some good ones, like a 50% off discount for the Commander Crow Wings, and a 40% off discount for the insanely expensive and rare Thunder God headdress, but there were also some really unnecessary ones too. America's Sweetheart is a girl's hair accessory that normally costs just 50 Robux, but for some reason, Roblox decided it was absolutely necessary to lower that to 10 Robux for this sale. Really meaningful discount, guys, thanks. Aside from the Earl of the Federation, Federation, the limiteds they made were all pretty meaningless as well. Earl of the Federation currently has 1.4 million Rollimons value. None of the other limiteds released during the sale have value at all, and the highest one besides the Federation one, the Golden Headphones, is currently not even 10k wrap. Apparently, it used to be a lot more valuable because it had a cool reflection effect, but since Roblox doesn't support that for hats anymore, it's basically useless. If you only joined Roblox after sales were cancelled, you're probably thinking that this review is sounding pretty entitled already, because yeah, a ton of stuff did get discounted, made limited, and released, just like Roblox said it would. And believe me, I'm not trying to give this sale too much hate, I'm just saying that it really only goes up from here. The second lowest ranked President's Day sale in my book is 2017. Now, unlike 2014, this sale actually had a lot of really cool new limited and non-limited items. The star of the show, believe it or not, was the Kleos Apphaton. Yes, that's right, the item that I talked as in-depth as possible about in my last video actually has one more piece of history that I totally missed. The reason it went limited was because of the President's Day sale. Thanks, George Washington. We also had another entry in the popular Gold Leica chain series get released, the Gold Leica Hero chain. Out of all the limited Gold Leicas, Hero is currently the lowest valued one, but 90k is still nothing to sneeze at. The most recognizable limited released during this sale, however, has to be the Frozen Horns of the Frigid Plains. The Flaming Horn series always kind of gets hated on for being a favorite of Slenders and Emos, but it still looks cool. It wouldn't be so popular if it wasn't. Sure, it's a little gimmicky because of the fire, but even if you take that away, the texture and shape are still pretty top tier to me. These horns in particular actually used to be a dream item of mine, and I really believe that they are a good hat. Even the non-limited items were good this time around. We had a new member of the Mr. Tentacles series, Cultured Cousin Tentacles, which, while it's the worth looking one, would probably still be a flex to own. The DIY Blue Steel Babby Sphere is another fun series item that parodies a pretty good looking small limited. And of course we can't forget about that one hair that everyone used to use to cosplay their favorite Fortnite streamer, the blue-haired ninja of the Silver Fortress. Sounds incredible, right? So why the low rating? Well, this sale actually has the exact opposite problem that the 2014 sale had. Its items are all great quality-wise, but it has a severe lack of quantity. When I was reviewing my lists of all the items for each sale, I noticed that 2017 was the only year that didn't fill up an entire Google Docs page. And that's when I realized something huge. Not only did this sale have the lowest number of affected items by far, it also didn't have any discounts or back on sale items at all, whatsoever. I got insecure. I double-checked my advanced search of R+ Notifier's tweets from that month just to make sure I didn't miss anything. I checked another catalog notifier bot, Roblox Notifier, and I scoured the internet for videos and articles about this sale just to make sure I was seeing all the information there was to see. And I didn't find a single mention of a discount or a back on sale item even once. Now, I will say that this does seem to be one of the least documented President's Day sales ever. I didn't find any articles on it, and I also only found one YouTube video on it, and it was just a leaks and predictions video, so that wasn't very helpful. So maybe I am still missing some information, but from what I can tell, despite the items being good, this was probably the most lackluster President's Day sale. I rank it above 2014 though, because I am a believer in quality over quantity. It doesn't matter if a sale has 1,000 items if each one of those items is absolute trash. So overall, 2017 would have probably been a great sale if they had bothered to finish it. Stepping things up a little bit, let's now discuss the 2018 President's Day sale. The big theme I noticed with this one is that for every category, discounted items, limited items, back on sale items, and new items, this sale had a few shining stars, and then the rest of its items were pretty average. Another theme I noticed was that this sale loved themes. We had 5 different Redcliffe items get discounted at once, followed by 5 different shoulder animal friends. We had 4 different antlers get put back on sale, and a series of 3 new limiteds called mermaid faces get put on sale in rapid succession. This sale was extremely organized and, like I said, extremely average. Let's try to give it some credit though, by talking about those shining stars I mentioned. There wasn't much to write home about in terms of discounts, but the best one by far was Corblock's Death Speaker's discount from its usual 17k to 10k, which I'm sure caused all the DeHood players to sprain their wrists from pulling their wallet out of their pocket too fast. Now, by far, the best category in this sale was the back on sale items category, which unfortunately was also the smallest one, but we did have a classic top hat retexture, the blue top hat with white band, get re-released, as well as those 4 pairs of antlers that I mentioned. Silverthorn, which everyone knows and loves, Bombastic and Blue Steel, which I already talked about, and a newer hat called the blue 8-bit antlers. In general, 8-bit items kind of suck. They never quite look the same as the hats they try to look like, and they're usually priced way too high for what they are. However, this one is one of the better 8-bit items I've seen, and at a glance, I think it looks pretty similar to the classics, so I'll give it a pass. How about limited items? This sale did have some very high valued stuff in it. However, the last 2 sales I talked about both had at least one item that broke the 1 million value mark, and this one didn't. The most valuable limited to come out of it was another Federation item, the Duke of the Fallen Federation. Out of all the Federation crowns, this one is probably the least recognizable because it's meant to be a sort of beaten down version of the Duke of the Federation. As you can see, the big gemstone is turned upside down, which in most religions is usually a very bad thing. There's also a star at the top, which is usually reserved for the female Federation crowns, so that's kind of weird. Nevertheless, I can't deny that you can make some very cool outfits with this thing. It's just not the best one. And also, it's only 260k value, which makes it the 4th lowest valued of all the Federation crowns. Golden Antlers was a prize for the top 100 free model makers of 2014 as part of that year's Giftsplosion event, and it could have been purchased for 10k Robux as well. It went limited this President's Day sale, and it's actually the most expensive out of all the classic antlers ever made, but it's still only 160k. There was a new immortal sword released during the sale as well, called the Shameless Scimitar. It's the 2nd worst performing entry in the series though, and it wears really weirdly on your back. Most immortal swords wear at a diagonal so that you can see the blade from the front, but this one wears horizontally, so it's safe to say that this one definitely wasn't a fan favorite. There were even some cool non-limited items. The agonizingly white bucket of doom was a new member of the Horn Bucket series, and it's one of the best in the series in my opinion. And then we have that one item that roughly 50% of parents will probably pay for at some point without knowing, the Violet Valkyrie. For some reason, after the sale was over, Roblox left it on sale, and it's now the most expensive non-limited item on the catalog at a whopping 50k Robux. But hey, that's more affordable than the original, so it's no wonder why people like it. And of course there was the Amber Crystal Circlet, and the Duke's Blade of Due Process, the Corrupted Future Cone, and the discounted Viridian Hoverboard. Unfortunately, like I said, most of the other items in this sale aren't really worth talking about. Toru the Phantom Claw looks incredibly dorky, the Plunger Helmet makes fun of itself, and those shoulder animals that they discounted are trivial at best. Also, side note, 600 Robux is way too much for this shoulder squid thing, let alone 1000, so this entire discount in particular is insane. We've reached the middle of the road now, the sale that isn't in the top 3 worst and isn't in the top 3 best. Perfectly average, and that sale is 2016. Let's talk discounted items. There were actually a few cool discounts here. The W Ink designer shades, which were normally 9,500 Robux, got absolutely slashed to just 4k. Unfortunately, that marked the end of their presence on the catalog altogether, but it was a nice last hurrah for them. The Pretty Princess tiara, which is actually a semi-popular limited nowadays, went from 1,000 Robux to 440. There were also some weird discounts though. The Amira scarf is normally a mere 25 Robux. Why they decided to bring that down to 10 for this sale is beyond me. I know this sale was meant to be in celebration of America, and so they had to have a couple of patriotic looking hats to justify it, but there are a few other American hats that I can think of that would have benefited a little more from a price cut. Anyway, in terms of back on sale items, we got the work clock headphones and shades, which were very affordable alternatives to the clockwork stuff and were extremely popular to bring back for sales. The bombastic and silver thorn antlers also made an appearance in 2016, but surprisingly, the blue steel ones didn't. 5 hats from the early 2000s era of Roblox, Target hat, Little Fluffy Cloud, blue baseball cap, pinstripe fedora, and teapot tome all made appearances in this sale as well. The most saturated category of 2016 though was the limiteds category. There were a ton of newly limited items in 2016, and they weren't just smalls either. Purple Bubble Trouble and Violet Fang, both retextures of super OG faces, got their start here, and they remain very popular affordable alternatives to those classic faces to this day. Another retexture of a classic, the Blue Steel Bucket, also went limited during the sale, and for what it is, it's actually surprisingly cheap. There was also another Gold Like a Chain, the Gold Like a Boss chain, released for this sale, and it was actually the first Gold Like a Chain ever made. It's the 2nd lowest valued limited Gold Leica, but it still looks pretty epic. Then we had not one but 2 Clockworks headphones retextures get affected during the sale. CW Ultimate Emerald Entropy, which already existed at the time, went limited and now sits at 220k value. And WC Ultimate's Pink Diamond Distraction was created and is now a limited item worth 350k value. I've never understood why the members of the WC and CW Ultimate series have less value than the original Clockwork headphones, because these are basically Sparkle Time versions of the original. And Sparkle Time, much like the Supreme logo, usually automatically makes everything it touches 10 times more valuable. But hey, I'm not complaining. Finally, the Red Glowing Eyes face was created with just 150 copies. It's now blown up to a cool 770k value, and it's very popular among rich people, despite being one of the easiest items to rip off nowadays. The new non-limited items this year were kind of lackluster to be honest, but there were a couple that really stood out. We got the Superb Pink Adventurer, which in my opinion kind of looks like an upgraded version of the Subarctic Commando, and it was only 1,000 Robux compared to the Subarctic Commando's 400k value. So hey, I'll take it. Interestingly enough, this item in the Pink Diamond WC Ultimates actually came out of 2 Valentine's Day themed gift boxes that were released for this sale. Some of the first items to be released during President's Day sales were usually Valentine's Day themed, because it was so close to Valentine's Day. And I guess this year, they wanted to have a little micro gift event within the President's Day sale to kill 2 holidays with 1 stone. There was one other year they did this with, which I'll talk about in a bit. Anyway, another cool non-limited they released was the Fire Crown, which was sort of a tongue-in-cheek opposite day version of the Ice Crown. The Fire Crown is a great idea, but it feels a little bit too short. The flames don't reach up nearly as high as the ice shards in the original Ice Crown do, so it's not really as good looking. For an item called the Fire Crown, this really isn't that hot, but the star of the show in terms of non-limited items for this year was the Tasteless Blue Steel Shades. The original Tasteless Shades are an extremely coveted and hard to find limited item with 900k Rollemons value, which is pretty funny considering that when they first released in 2010, they cost just 10 Robux and had 100 copies. Apparently the reason it's so rare now is because of a hidden hoard, but 900k is 900k. But why spend 900k on the original when you could have had Bearage Eye's amazing blue steel retexture of them for just 5k? These are honestly one of my favorite published retextures ever made, and I'm very jealous of the 258 people that managed to snag a pair. The 2015 President's Day sale is, in my opinion, the third best President's Day sale. Discounts and limiteds were the two main focuses this year. There were some really good items in both of those categories. The beautiful hair for beautiful purple people, which is usually 365 Robux, got crushed down to just 100. The Fallen Artemis bow, a decently popular off-sale gear, got cut from 2,500 Robux to 2,000. And the work clock headphones, which I guess were still on sale during this year, went from 3K to 2K. Also, the King's Adornments, the signature item of the 4.2 million subscriber Mexican YouTuber Rodney Roblox, was cut from 1.5K to just 750, a whopping 50% off. But the biggest discount by far was the 25% price reduction of the incredibly popular Valkyrie helm retexture, Black Falc. Before going limited, it sold for 1 million ticks, which using an average conversion rate of 10 ticks to 1 Robux was an astonishing 100,000 Robux. The 25% discount meant that it sold for just 750,000 ticks, or 75,000 Robux. Still incredibly pricey, but much less so. And it was worth saving up for this thing because now that it's limited, it currently sits at 3.1 million value, and an even higher wrap of around 3.3 million. Now what about the limited items that were made during this sale? The first one worth mentioning is Stickmaster Luke's Peanut Butter Sparkle Time. Peanut Butter Sparkle Time what? Nah, just kidding, it was a hair. Out of all the Sparkle Time items with a Rollamon value, it's currently the lowest, but it is the only brown Sparkle Time item ever made, and it's the 7th highest valued hair item, so that's something. Chronomelum, the Wicked Helm, also got created this year. Chrono helmets are supposed to represent these weird eldritch gods with giant horns. Chrono Initium is supposed to be the first god, Chrono Terminus is supposed to be the last god, this one, Chronomalum, represents evil, Chrono Bonum represents good, and Chrono Noctis represents shadiness? I don't know. Regardless, this hat is really good. The texture is amazingly detailed, they got this realistic lava look that really makes it look like this item is burning. And the horns, like all the other Chrono helms, are intimidatingly long. I'm impressed, but not as impressed as I am by the fiery horns of the Netherworld, which also came out during this sale. Yes, that's right. Both of the limited fiery horns came out during a President's Day sale, and I know I gushed about the frozen ones being my dream item and all, but these horns are really ones that, given the chance, I would probably actually wear. Unlike the frozens, they match my dethroned ruler of the universe pretty well, and they would be much more of a flex than these Adorite antlers. So if I ever win the Roblox lottery or something and end up with a lot of Robux to spend, these horns are first on my list. Also, I keep forgetting this when researching and writing this video, but there was a CW Ultimate item that went limited during this sale, Amethyst Addiction, which is currently 260k value. Finally, there is one more limited we have to talk about. It's not very big, but it is worth mentioning. I'm talking, of course, about the Orange Sparkle Time Fedora. This is the third worst performing Sparkle Time Fedora, and in many people's opinions, the ugliest, but it does still have 1.1 million value, and it is, of course, a Sparkle Time Fedora. So congrats to anyone who had the 50k Robux needed to pick it up on the ground floor. Back on sale items weren't as good as they usually are. We had the Pinstripe Fedora and the head stack, but that and a few retro items were about all that were worth mentioning. The new non-limited items were a little more exciting, but there still wasn't much. 2015 was the other year I mentioned where Roblox released 2 Valentine's Day themed gift boxes during the sale, and those opened to reveal the Neon Pink Snake Fedora, which no one really cares about, and the Neon Pink Shaggy, which is now limited, but is only around 6k wrap. The Black Wings, which were a staple of mid-2010s online data outfits, also came out during this sale and remain on sale to this day for 1,000 Robux. Finally, the Gold Superfly Boombox went up during this sale and became so popular that Roblox decided to take it and every other custom music playing gear off the catalog for good. That's a lot of positives, but keep in mind, this sale wasn't perfect. That's why it's number 3 in this list. The Washington's birthday hat is, for some reason, extremely low poly, and the party hat looks less like a party hat and more like a dunce cap. The Hot Jams headphones, in my opinion, are some of the worst headphones that Roblox has ever made. They look like children's headphones that you find in the bargain bin at Best Buy, and Reese McBlox's diary was already pretty affordable. They didn't need to discount it from 65 Robux to 25. For the most part, however, this sale was great. An even better sale, however, was the 2013 President's Day sale, the first one that Roblox ever did. Roblox really did mean it when they said they were doing a massive sale. That claim holds up even to this day. In fact, it involved the most items out of all the President's Day sales they ever did. But again, quality over quantity. That's why this sale is in second place. They did have a ton of items, but not all of them were top tier. But we'll get to that in a bit. Let's first take a look at what they did right. First of all, there were no unnecessary discounts this year. All the items they discounted were relatively pricey, and the discounts really improved their sales. On the price chopping block were items like the W Ink designer shades, which became 6,650 Robux from almost 10,000, the classical glory helmet, which got slashed to 175k ticks, Ticks, or 17.5k Robux, from 250k Ticks, or 25k Robux, the Frost Vision Goggles, which sold for 4k as opposed to their usual 5k, and the Pirate Captain's Hat, which was cut from 2k to 1k. Bigger Head got put back on sale, and the original Clockwork Shades went back on sale for 19,358 Robux, which just happens to be Clockwork's user ID. Must be just a coincidence. All I can say is, it's a good thing he joined as early as he did. I don't think most people have enough Robux for an item named after a more recent admin. In terms of limiteds, the 2013 President's Day sale was the one where the Timeless Top Hat, which is Jailbreak developer Asimo 3089 signature hat, went limited. Also, Blizzaria the Frozen, a classic Roblox Pumpkinhead retexture, was created, and it did so well that Roblox created a whole separate hat in its honor, the Blizzaria Warlock, which also got published during this sale and didn't do so well. Psyface, the sharpest one, is a pretty unknown rare limited, and it also got published during this sale. It currently sits at 90k value, and although a lot of people call it ugly, I think that with the right outfit, it could totally be a flex. But what's even more of a flex is the Dark Cerulean Crown of Ozymandias, which is based on what essentially amounted to a poetry contest between two 19th century poets to write a sonnet about an ancient Egyptian king called Ozymandias. If you look up the description of this item, you'll find that it was actually written by Horace Smith as his entry into that contest. The blue and the black work very well together, and the hat looks intimidating as absolute heck. It currently sits at 120k value, but according to Arbitrator, when it first came out, it was getting trade offers including the likes of Dual Dark Hearts and Illumina, and it was over 400k value. So it's safe to say that if you bought this item, you wanted to trade it off as soon as possible. Speaking of the Dual Dark Hearts, they themselves were created during the sale and are the 6th highest valued gear ever made at 300k value. Overall, definitely a much better investment. Now this sale was full of limiteds, but what it had even more of was non-limited items. The thing is, no one cares about most of them. The Blue Steel Crown was published for 5k and is still on sale today, and since it's a classic gold crown retexture, that's a pretty good item. And the Shoulder Crow is decently popular, but like, what is the Cobalt Cobot? What is the Bluest Ninja? The Zorbloixon? No one knows or cares about what these items are, and they're mostly just a waste of space. So if you had the money to spend on the big discounted back on sale or limited items, this was probably a great sale for you. But for the average man on the street, this sale really didn't have that much to offer, which is why it's number 2 on this list. So what really was the most balanced, lucrative, perfect President's Day sale that Roblox ever conducted? Well, I'd have to give that honor to 2019. If you only participated in one President's Day sale, this was probably it. And I'm happy to reassure you that the sale you were a part of was a really good one, and in my opinion, even the best one overall. First of all, I did say that 2013's discounts were perfect because none of them were unnecessary, but I forgot to mention that that holds true for 2019 as well. And 2019's discounts were not only perfect, but also insane. Now, I know most people don't really care about avatar bundles except for ones like Corblox, Death Speaker, and Skeleton, but I have to talk about a few, because these bundles had discounts that would put any used car dealer to shame. A 2,000 Robux bundle, the Divine Guardian, shot down to just 950 Robux, and the Corblox Lord of Death bundle, which is usually 4,500, plummeted down to 2,050. The 750 Robux Overseer Horned Warlord Helm took a 60% discount to just 300 Robux, and the Overseer Apprentice Cloak took a 70% discount to just 100 Robux. The Future Cone went down 66% from 750 Robux to a measly 250, and the Corrupted Future Cone, which was already 250, nosedived down to just 50 Robux for an official Roblox made cone is like finding a working pair of official AirPods at a Five Below. It just keeps going. The Gearpunk Bucket, a remesh of the classic bucket hat, went from 1k to 400 Robux. The Fancy Ducky went from 1k to 500 Robux, and two Federation themed ties, Duke of the Corporation and Lord of the Corporation, underwent a mind-boggling discount of 90% off and went from 100 and 250 Robux respectively to literally 10 and 25. We're not stopping at the discounts though, because you'd better believe they put some fan favorites back on sale. We got favorites like the original Traffic Cone, the Head Stack, and the Silverthorn Antlers. We got the Retro Weekend Lampshade, which is a retexture of the extremely OG Lampshade hat. If you were balling a little bit extra, you could pick up a pair of red Clockwork headphones for 10k Robux. They also released 3 other classic Antlers retextures besides the Silverthorns: Amethyst, Black Iron, and Adderite. The Adderite Antlers were even made limited after this sale was done, and now they're one of my signature items. They also re-released an extremely cheap member of the Eyeball series, the Pink Eye, for 50 Robux. Sure, the name reminds you of a horrible eye disease, but the actual item is super detailed down to the little eye veins, and it looks awesome. Now, if there's any category that you could possibly argue that this sale suffered in, it would be the new non-limited items category, but there were still some pretty good items in there. The giant Kingfisher wings are somewhat of a favorite of people who wear blue outfits. The 8-bit Rainbow Shades were also released during this sale, and they're a retexture of the 8-bit sunglasses, which are one of Murder Mystery 2 developer Nicholas's signature items. So if you're a big fan of MM2, your cosplay would be one step closer to completion. Hopefully you can get your hands on a red Sparkle Time fedora at some point. A new Blue Steel item, the Braided Destiny of Blue Steel Brilliance, Limits was released, and is actually still on sale now for just 150 Robux. Unfortunately, I think it's kind of ugly because, as I said in my last video, I think all of these shoulder pad type items are ugly, but if you like them, more power to you. If you're a fan of cutesy looking items, you could also pick up the Playful Puppy Backpack and the Kitty Cat Backpack, which are a little redundant nowadays when you can get very similar items from UGC creators for a fraction of the price, but for their time, they were probably appreciated. But what about limiteds? Well, I already told you that the Adderite Antlers went limited. They're pretty in demand, so their value is always fluctuating, but right now they're at 16k. A lineup of 3 colored faces called the Torque the Orc faces were also released. The green one was 50 Robux, the blue one was 1000 Robux, and the red one was 2500 Robux. There was actually a bit of drama involved with the blue one. After all 1000 of its copies sold out, it for some reason became possible for anyone with 1000 plus Robux to click buy, not be charged for the item, and then have it appear in their inventory. This absolutely destroyed the stock and value of the item, and by the time it was fixed, the total amount of copies of this face was around 5,500. As you can imagine, people who bought this thing legitimately were pretty mad, and some even suggested that Roblox ban everyone who got the face for free. But unfortunately, nothing was ever done about it, not even a purge of the extra copies, and now instead of being the middle valued item in the series like it was supposed to be, it's behind even the 50 Robux green orc face in wrap. A much more positive story is that of the Archfey Visage series of faces. Just like the orc faces, there was a red one, a blue one, and a green one, except this time the price order was switched. The red one was the lowest at 50 Robux, the green one was the middleman at 100 Robux, and the blue one was the most expensive at 1000 Robux. Weirdly though, the green one had the lowest stock with just 250 copies available. Even more weirdly, that's the same stock that Torque the Red Orc had, and that face was much more expensive than Emerald Archfey. But Emerald Archfey currently has about 6 times more wrap than Torque. It just goes to show you how looks really do matter with limiteds. Another affordable limited was Gold Emperor of the Night, which was 500 Robux and now sits at 55k value. So as you can see, even if you didn't have a crazy amount of Robux for this sale, you could still make quite a lot of profit. But if you did have a lot of Robux, there were of course some expensive items to invest in. Let's take a look at those. Immortal Sword Shattered Earth was the worst performing member of the Immortal Sword series ever made. It cost 25k Robux on release, and now 3 years later, it's still resting at 32k value. 7k may not seem like that bad of a profit, but take into account that that was the original price of items like the Interstellar Wings, and you start to see that maybe buying this thing wasn't the best idea. Let's take a look at a better investment. For another 25k Robux, the exact same price as the Immortal Sword, you could get the Agonizingly Red Bucket of Cheer, which has since appreciated decently to 105k value. It was released later in the sale than the Immortal Sword though, so it must have made those Immortal Sword owners really mad to see that if they had just waited a little longer, they could have not only quadrupled their money, but also gotten, in my opinion, a much better looking item. It kind of resembles Doombringer's Doombringer, and the Horn Bucket Mesh obviously makes it a flex, so I would be pretty happy with that purchase. But we haven't even talked about the two kings of this sale yet, or should I say, king and queen. For 50,000 Robux, what it cost to get the previous two items combined, you could buy the Disgraced Baroness of the Federation. It's now 190k value, and it was projected at some point to 220k wrap, so it's a pretty solid item nowadays. I still wouldn't recommend the purchase during this sale though, because first of all, it's not exactly the best looking or valued Federation item out there, and secondly, I would much rather have the king of this sale, which was, of course, Emerald Valkyrie. Emerald Valkyrie is the second most expensive Valkyrie helm retexture at a whopping 2.3 million Robux in value. Its stock was 50, just half of Varanus's. That's a bit more than some other items at that price point, so the price must have been really high, right? Like at least double Baronus's? Well, no, it was actually 5k less. That's a pretty insane difference. I do notice that there are 34 copies marked as hidden or deleted, so I have a feeling that this item might be privately hoarded by someone in order to purposefully drive up its rarity and value. But it's still an amazing achievement for something that was literally less expensive than its counterpart. I don't think this is what Roblox was planning to happen with these items at all, but I think Emerald Valkyrie owners are sure glad it did. So, that is my ranking of all of Roblox's President's Day sales. I wasn't really into sales or avatar items as a whole until 2020, so the only two items I ever got at a sale in general were these two hairs, which were actually parts of some of my old avatars, so I guess they were valuable purchases, or at least it felt like it back then. I'd love to hear if you ever got to participate in a President's Day sale, and if so, which items you got from it. One last thing, if you're already subscribed, thank you for waiting for this video to come out. I ended up switching topics from just covering Valentine's Day items to covering the entirety of every President's Day sale ever in the middle of the week, and I kind of thought someplace like Roblox Wiki would have helpful lists of all the items ready for me to poke fun at, but it turned out that hardly anyone had documented these sales at all, and I had to scour the internet myself and cobble together my own list of items, which took a super long time. I did leave a ton of items out, so if you want to see my full list and the sources I got all these claims from, I'll link them in the description. That's about it. I've been Lord Nitrous, and I'll see you all next week. Hopefully. Bye!